Welcome back, Bots and Bits fans. The first carriage of the three-pronged assault hype train has arrived in the form of none other than Thrust. In the middle here we have Yes Model's YM05. On the left here we have the KBB DO2R, and on the right, trusty old iGear Thrust. So we've got a lot to cover, and I wouldn't usually focus on accessories, but these two do come with so many, it's hard not to. Start with KBB to begin with. So he comes with a pair of sidewinders for his wings, a pair of regular null rays instead of his missiles, and a replacement head, which is so tiny. Look at that. You thought iGear was small. The iGear is bigger than this replacement head, which just looks absolutely ridiculous. That is just... who signed off on that? It also comes with a couple of crappy pilots I'm not going to bother with, but he does include this flight stand. Now for accessories for Yes Model, he comes with his own pair of sidewinders, Megatron gun, some rub-on stickers maybe, not sure. Comes with a flight stand with a smoked stem. And then you have the G1 accessory pack, which includes a Takara style head. The white paint's applied pretty well. They're not gold eyes, they're just painted yellow. And it's actually quite smaller than a Takara head. Here's one that I've cast off Ramjet. See, it's just solid plastic. But they are substantially different in size. And you can see there's no real detail on the back of the head, like with Takara. And then to swap the heads, we just grab it under the chin, pop it off, chuck the Takara-esque one on. I prefer their custom head. I do see the appeal in the Takara style. A little bit of up and down. Left to right's pretty good. I probably wouldn't want to put too much stress on that there. That doesn't really want to move too easily. But your mileage may vary. You also get a set of Takara style missiles for each character. You get Thrust's missiles, which I think look pretty rubbish in red, to be honest. I mean, the detailing is fine, but just the solid red plastic could do with a bit of paint. You compare it to like KBBs, they look quite good. These ones, not so much. You get Takara Dirge missiles, I believe. Actually, these two pieces are from the Toy Mecha prototype renders for Ramjet, not Dirge, not Thrust. And then you get the Takara Ramjet ones, which go over the top of regular null rays. And lastly, we also get these little mini kneecap extenders, which don't really have any way of going on. As you can see, it's just flat plastic. You'd think that would plug into something, but it doesn't. That sits there like that. When looking at the prototype photos, it looks like it's just glued in place. So I don't think many people will bother with that. It might be a nice addition to your KBB, just gluing on a little extended kneecap. So one of the first things that you'll notice between the two is that the KBB looks blazingly red on camera. It's partially my white balance on my camera, and it's partially the fact that he is red. He's not maroon, he's not any sort of other shade, he is red. I'll try and adjust my lights to get a better idea of the actual colour. There's no two ways about it. You really need to see them side by side up close to get a true understanding of the difference. Yeah, that's a bit more, that's much closer to in hand what you see with your own naked eyes. I'll get in with the legs, get a good look. So you can see there's a stark difference between the two. So let's check out some of the torso details between the three. Yes model, you can see, just has a smoky cockpit, no coloration, nothing, just smoke. All these sections here are just black. They're not, oh no, that's painted. A couple of sprue marks up the top here, but that is a really sharp edge. That is very neat all around there. On both sides, from the looks of it, there's a little bit of a sprue mark there, but that's not too bad. Check out the boob rockets. They're sloppy as. I don't know if you can see that very well because it's reflecting a lot of light, but there's a bit of chipping. The paint's a bit thick and globby, but who really cares about that? No one. So this oblique section is red plastic with black painted over the top. And then when we check out KBB, these oblique sections are black plastic painted red this time, and that is much better done than on their Skywalk, that's for sure. Silver paint is only applied to the fins on the inside, whereas Yes model, they have just painted the whole inside section with the same colour silver. The chest area is almost completely void of sprue marks. They have done a really neat job of that. Look at that, not a single mark. What I do notice on the KBBs though, and I've noticed this on all of them, is they must cut them from the mould here. You can see it there. There's a rough cut, both sides. The missiles are unpainted. Again, I don't know that anybody really gives a crap about that. Up here you can see the inner vent details. Same as, or not the same, but very similar to the eye gear details. Hello. I had to adjust my light a bit because the white is just so caked on that it was just reflecting too much light. This really is the worst of the bunch. Like I said, that paint is just caked on. Those eyes aren't done too well, and that facial expression just looks like a grumpy nana unhappy with her grandson's baggy shorts. Look at that, it's just, come on, terrible. And then you got the black paint around there, it's just fuzzy and not in line. And you got the little cap, it's exactly the same shape as eye gear. A whole lot. Might even be the same size even. Yeah, pretty much. So KBB attach their heads the same way that eye gear do, and that is from the back. You can see it's got a, instead of underneath, connects like that. Have the eye gear head here with the same connection. So attaching an eye gear head isn't a problem, but if you wanted to put Yes model on there, it attaches in the middle. So it will go on, but it is very stiff, and up and down is very limited. And of course there's a colour difference. And just because we can, here's the Yes model head on KBB. Here we have the Yes model, and straight away you can see that KBB just doesn't even compare. The detail they've put into this face is just fantastic. The eyes are painted yellow, not gold, but they still pop really well, and that looks like teeth inside of his mouth. They have just done an excellent job with the detail, and that cone is a separate piece, it's not painted, so there's no fuzzy line. A little bit of a gap there. Overall, really good. When I've got him up close, you can see that he's got different detailing on the inside of his vents. Check out the ratchet while we're in here. That join's all pretty good. A little bit of chest raise there, but the whole torso and everything itself, it's all staying together. It's quite good. That's very stiff. You can see the ratchet teeth flexing when I open it up. See that? Yeah, I don't like that at all. I might open this up and loosen it a bit. The bicep swivel, very stiff. And then we have the details inside the elbow there. The fingers, they're not loose at all. Quite reasonable. I'll probably replace this with KFC hands anyway. And then I'll check the other side. Similar tightness in that shoulder there, pulling those teeth apart a bit. And that bicep on this side is just as stiff, maybe even stiffer than the other. Not a bad thing. And these fingers are the same as the other hand. So pretty consistent on both sides. So we'll take a look at KBB's arms. Shoulder ratchet. Very good. A little bit of chest movement there. That's not too bad. The outward motion is pretty strong, but it's not overly stiff like on the Yes model. Same with the bicep swivel. And the fingers aren't loose at all. On the other side, what have we got? Ratchet's about the same. Outward motion's about the same. Level of stiffness. It's not pulling those ratchet teeth apart at all. Bicep swivel on this side's quite stiff. Stiffer around on the inside there than on the outside. And the fingers aren't loose at all. So very consistent, like Yes model on both sides. Pretty happy with that. So down to KBB's hips and legs. Again, they've got the MP03/06 hip skirts, which are the same design as the eye gears. You can see the panel work, everything. I know, slight difference on the insides up by the cockpit. The ratchets going out. They're not weak, but they're not, you know, overly strong. Actually, now it's starting to weaken up. Look at that. And on this side, move that out of the way. That one out is super strong. That one, not so much. Front and back, let's move them up. Very good, very strong sounding. See if this side's the same. Yeah, front and back on, that doesn't want to, something in the way. Doesn't want to go back. It's weird. I swear I just had that one back before. Torso slide a bit is impeding it. So that's a shame. Thigh swivel isn't tight, isn't loose. It's just, it's what you want. Knee joints, it is the double knee, but these are particularly tight. Doesn't want to do that last click. That's as far as you get with the KBB. And then on the other side, the whole leg's flexing to do that last click. Super strong knees, like a Skywalk. The first ratchet clicks are quite close together compared to put these in and then go one out, one out. can see KBB's feet sit much closer together on the first ratchet click than Yes Model. This is the same as like with Skywalk as well. Moving down the legs, you can see this shin section is die cast. It's just a die cast panel added to it, I suppose, just to give the legs a bit more weight. Got the toe swivel. That's not stiff at all. Neither is that. And that's looser still. It's not too bad. With the sliders, there are no pegs or hooks or anything inside the slider. It's just held together by friction. And just up, down, yeah. So looking at Yes Model's hips and legs, we can see that the crutch plate here is a different colour to the rest of it, because this is moulded red plastic, whereas this crutch plate has been painted quite thickly actually. I got a couple of chips there and they've added some black paint on the inside. In fact, that might be a black piece of plastic. I don't know. And of course, just quickly, we do have Yes Model's enlarged peg to hold the torso together, and they are still using a push plug for the torso connection. And on KBB, oh, come apart. Got the enlarged peg still. They are using a screw and washer for the torso connection, and they have those grooves in the channels, which I wish those grooves were on Yes Model. That would be the perfect combination. Go with the hip ratchets. Get out to there, and that ratchet's quite strong. Let's see what it's like on the other side. Same dealio. And of course we've got the hip ratchets out to the side, which 1, 2, you get 2 and a bit. Pretty good. Yeah. I got 3 out of that one. With the knees, no, these bloody things. That's just, I know it's too inaccurate, but God, these things are a pain in the ass. Go with the knees. That's the double jointed knee. I'll just do both at the same time. Very strong, very light sounding, but that is a lot of strength in there. I'm really happy with that. Fire swivel was good. That's not loose, that's not tight, that it's stressed in the plastic. It's exactly where you want it. Same with that side. It's not making any noise, nothing. Good smooth movement. Go into the feet here. That's really stiff, so they're not sliding around anywhere. There we go. It's the same on both sides, forward and back. Not much there. The thrusters are pretty stiff, which is good, because on the Yes Model, most of your stability comes from here. Oops. The tail fins in robot mode, you can have them in or out. It's up to you. I find with the wings folded down, you really need to have the tail fins out, because as you're posing, these spikes here will get hooked in there, and it becomes a real pain in the ass. So you just leave it out. But speaking of these wings, like I said before, these they really piss me off. Like, it looks good, I admit it looks good, but the way that it's done, it's a lot of weight being put on these historically weak joints, and they haven't done anything to reinforce them. And you see, that's a little bit wobbly. That one feels a bit stiffer. But so the way that it works is this bit here is both a folding and rotating hinge. So in jet mode, the wing will be that way, and as you can see already, just how much flex you have to be really careful with this. I think I wish they did that joint in there a little bit different, because this is a lot of weight. So you flex it around, try and straighten it up, because it does flex both ways. alright, and put it in the best that you can. But there are a couple of clearance issues. It bangs into a lot of things going around, so you really just have to be mindful and just take it slow. So if you snap that, then it's fucking over and it's messed up. I think when I eventually display this, I'm going to do it like the iGear. And this bit here, where it connects in, that is really, really tight. So you got to hold it and then undo it, and then even pushing it in, that's a tough joint to click in. If I can get this bloody thing to, there we go. So let's pop that out, flick it around. See, flicking it around, it does what it's meant to do. This joint works as it's meant to, but that, I don't think that was ever intended to support anything like this, you know? Plug that in. See, I think I'll be displaying it like that. Like people who display, not play, it won't really matter too much, I guess. You pose it how you want, you be careful, stick it on the shelf, nothing's going to happen to it, is it? So let's get a little bit of sunlight just to see a very serious problem with the KBB wings. So on first transform, I discovered this stress mark here in the main hinge for the wing. It's not present on the other side, thankfully. I think the cause is the square edge of the hinge does not have enough clearance to move in between the two panels that it's joined to. And it actually raises the plastic it's connected to off of the die-cast metal slider from the torso, putting heaps of strain onto that joint. Now, Yes model doesn't have this problem. As you can see, the hinges are all rounded, and instead of the clasp being encased, it's actually got an open mouth area, so if there was any stress, it looks like the pin itself would pop out instead of snapping the joint. So when you first transform the KBB, you really want to do the wing in two separate sections. Treat it as two separate hinges, not the one joint. So, and just take it really slow and easy. Once you've done that, you need to remove a small amount of plastic from this joint here. You can either use a small file or a hobby knife. I chose to use a hobby knife just to make things quicker and a little bit more accurate. And as you can see, I'm only taking off a very small amount just to give it a more rounded edge and a bit more clearance. And that's it, problem solved. But the wing problems for KBB don't stop there. The hinges in here themselves on both sides are actually quite loose and floppy. Look at that. That's really disappointing. And also these pegs, while they do sound like they have a really good connection, and the other side, that sounds really secure, but it's not. As they wobble, see the peg itself wobbles with the wing, eventually works its way out. Not very secure at all, and these bits are not very stiff at all. So as this all moves, everything gradually works its way out of place. These come unpegged, these fall back, and all this moves back in, and then it's sort of like, you've done a really shit job. On another note though, when comparing the KBB wing detail to iGear, you can see that the patterns are almost identical. Each square, each line, its position and everything is nearly exactly the same. And it's the same up top in the shoulder area, as you can see, with the fins and the lines and where the red and white markings end. Some slight change in detail on the turbines themselves, and of course there's a slight size difference too. But when comparing KBB to Yes model, you can see Yes model have gone to do their own thing. They've removed the wing flaps, and what else have we got here? They've added a bit more detail into the turbine, just in there and around the ring. But apart from that, it looks like a completely different design. Now, I'm not going to bother filming the transformation of these guys because it is ultimately the same across the board except for iGear, but I will just point out one last difference, and that is that Yes model have removed the ring from back here like KBB have from all of their MP11 molds. But surprisingly, Yes model have done a better job of it. You see, it only comes up to about halfway of these intakes. When you look at KBB, the backplate is almost at the top of the intakes. And you just see the height and length difference there. They're both still roughly about the same size, but the hinges are just very slightly different levels, and it makes all the difference. So here we have Yes Model and KBB in vehicle mode, and there isn't really much to say about either. The only major differences are colour. KBB does tab together pretty well, especially along these sections here where the wings tab into the body. That is just, everything is just where it needs to be. It's very smooth, and the underside is as you'd expect. Cockpit, well, it's got a small gap there and no gap there. And with Yes Model, see those wings have tabbed in really well on the side. The cockpit's tabbed in there. That is just a perfect match all around there, as you can see, and it is the same on the other side. Nose cone is in very well. Underside looks like this. You can see those kneecap brackets aren't obstructing the wheels at all. The underside of the turbines aren't painted, which is a bit of a drag. That doesn't look very good at all. It really would not have taken that much more effort unless that's a separate piece they've glued in there and it's just cast plastic, and this is just all one piece. They just haven't. Yeah, I think that's how they've done it. Whereas KBB, this section is actually black plastic with red paint over the top. Just how they've done it, and you can see that because the edging around there just isn't the best. Bit of chipping now that we look close, but still they got top and bottom. It would not have been too much effort for them to tidy that up, but you know, what are you going to do? This brake plate doesn't quite sit flush with this joint here. You see it's a little bit raised. It's the same on both sides. Sort of push it down, but look, there's nothing underneath really pushing it up. It just doesn't want to stay out. KBB is fine. That's all flush and where it should be. And I thought maybe it was just mine, but I've got a spare here. Why do you have a spare? I can hear my wife asking. Well, I didn't think I'd get this one on time, so I ordered another one just to make sure I'd get one early. But this plate is the same. It is raised up, and no amount of squashing will get it back down. So there's 2 for 2. So final opinion is pretty obvious. Yes Model is the clear winner. That's not to say that if you dig what KBB are doing that you should avoid it. KBB are going the toy colour route, and I love that. I love that the options are made available to us. I just feel that their QC since Starburst is getting more and more sketchy, where Yes Model has stayed pretty consistent. I got both of these guys from Toybento, and just looking today, the price difference is about $20 Australian. So you shouldn't let that price difference alter your decision. If you're undecided, I highly recommend Yes Model. If you're feeling what KBB is doing, then go for it. Just take it easy at first. Thanks for sticking out this epic video until the end. We are now brothers.